morning. You're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Danie Laurel. It's the start of a new trading day. Let's go straight to our banner story. Local retailers remain cautious about their sales outlook in the near term, saying they are not seeing revenge spending just yet. The Philippine Retailers Association Vice Chairperson Robert Claudio, said they would just be happy enough to recover lost sales from the last 3 quarters. He notes most retailers are just aiming for a break-even performance at best in the last quarter of the year. Claudio expects full-year retail sales to remain flat even as Metro Manila is now under looser mobility curbs and COVID-19 cases have decreased. Claudio says they're not revising their projections at this stage of Alert Level 2 because people and transportation are not at pre-pandemic levels. He also said they're not ruling out a resurgence of new infections, which may lead to another round of lockdowns. And government agencies are looking to tighten taxation and regulation of fintech companies as their business activities surge amid the pandemic. The BIR and the SEC are working together to evaluate how digital business models should be regulated and taxed. This comes after Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez directed the two agencies to make sure that they have, quote, enough regulatory and collection muscle for these digital technology companies. He said the digital space is just a platform and the type of activity does not matter. In any case, Dominguez said operations are still taxable by the BIR and subject to SEC regulations. The BIR has already been identifying companies that have not registered to guide them in complying with the tax rules. And for its part, the SEC plans to come up with fintech-specific requirements for licensing and data security. Let's take a quick peek at the oil price story here. The WTI trading at $80.23 per barrel. This, of course, is a decline from previous prices just after U.S. President Joseph Biden called to use the U.S. strategic petroleum reserves to specifically lower the gasoline prices. And this might have actually pushed equities higher, according to several analysts. You can see on my terminal here overnight, the S&P 500 up by 0.4%, the NASDAQ as well up by 0.8%. Let's see whether this is spilling over into the rest of the region. Not necessarily the case with the Nikkei 225 opening weaker, down 0.3%. Over in Singapore as well, you've got the FTSE Straits Times opening on the back foot. Let's take a look at our index and whether we are continuing that rally of yesterday. Apparently not. We are going with the rest of the Asian flow down by 0.14%. This, of course, as after a bit of a pullback from when shares rose yesterday as September remittances surprised. This is according to RCBC's chief economist Mike Ricafort. Apart from the fact that remittances in September showed continued growth, it was also at near record highs on a monthly basis. And he also mentioned that this would support consumer spending, which is, of course, 70% of the economy. Another interesting point of yesterday was we recorded the first foreign buying in 4 sessions. That was 863 million pesos in net purchases. Let's take a look at the big movers of the morning. 4 minutes into trade, PLDT best performer here, followed by Mega World. And on the other side, you've got its rival Globe Telecom, one of the worst performers, together with Aboitiz Equity Ventures. So speaking of Mega World, there's one particular REIT that I want to check out here. That is M-REIT. Of course, their REIT that is 18 pesos and 30 centavos flattish amid reports that they are eyeing 4 office properties. They're eyeing to acquire those. That's around 55,700 square meters of gross leasable area by December of this year. They plan to inject Iloilo Business Parks, 2 Techno Place, 3 Techno Place, and 1 Global Center, as well as World Finance Plaza that is in McKinley Hill. They say that that acquisition would boost M-REIT's GLA by 25%. And finally, just a quick peek on the airlines here. This, as PAL says, that they are now operating at 40% of the pre-pandemic flights. That's an average of 120 flights a day. That's 40% of pre-pandemic frequencies. This, according to the carrier, as we anticipate a surge in travel demand with the gradually improving health situation in the country, we continue to build up our flight network. So now PAL has regular weekly flights to LA, San Francisco, New York, Honolulu, Guam, Toronto, Vancouver, London, among others. record highs in the pandemic and companies struggling to regain footing, access to finance is more important now than ever. How can we ensure that loans are being provided at fair rates and that consumers are protected in their recovery? Here to weigh in, we have with us Shivani Siroya joining us from the United States, founder and CEO of the lending platform Tala. Good morning, Shivani, and welcome to Business World Live.
Thank you so much for having me.
Shivani, the Philippines is actually one of the more traditional or more developed markets when it comes to lending and microfinance. We have a great BSP arm that is, very, very pro lending to the poor. But we also have seen a lot of, issues when it comes to microfinance. What is Tala all about, and how can you differentiate yourselves as a platform from other lenders that we are seeing?
So I think the first piece that makes Tala really different is that we really think of ourselves as a global technology company that is building the first ever digital financial services hub that is designed specifically for the 3 billion individuals that are currently underserved or overlooked by traditional financial institutions. The first product that we really started with is our core lending product that's available 24/7. It's entirely digital, and it's available to anybody that has an Android device that is currently in one of the markets that we operate in. And so we currently work in the Philippines, Mexico, India, as well as Kenya. And so anyone with a mobile device or Android device can actually download our application and get approval instantly in minutes just by, again, going through our application flow. And so we're incredibly accessible. But then the other thing that we've really done differently than other lenders in the market is really ensured that we're meeting our customers where they are and that we're flexible and that we're also affordable and really secure. So again, it's really designed for the unique needs of the underserved customer in emerging markets.
How do the flexible loans work specifically? Who is eligible? You mentioned that everyone is eligible. That's pretty exciting, but it's very difficult to say. Okay, I can just get a loan. How exactly can a person apply? What do they need? Of course, here in the Philippines we have issues with the ID system and even the verification system of people. How are you able to manage all of these and allow people to just get loans on your platform with, of course, the risks of default?
So, I think this is really where our expertise on AI as well as technology comes into place. Anyone with an Android device, as long as you have your ID on you, you can actually go through our application flow, and then we are able to actually verify your identity all through our mobile application. And so we are bringing in different kinds of data that really allow us to understand the capacity and the unique behavior and potential of each individual consumer. And so this is really about designing a financial system that can work for all.
What are the consumer lending trends that you're seeing here in the Philippines, and how are they different? You said that you're present as well in other countries like Kenya. What's your data telling you? Are we, excited to get more loans? Are we using the loans in a productive way? And are we financially literate enough? We're very mobile savvy, but do we understand, what it takes to get a loan, to make good decisions when it comes to our credit options?
We at Tala definitely think so. And so we really think that the Filipino consumer is entrepreneurial. We think that they're family oriented and that they're really responsible with credit. And so that's really why the newest feature that we just launched is really designed to put more of that power in the Filipino consumer's hands. It really is the first ever product of its kind in the Philippines, but actually globally, that allows customers to choose terms anywhere between 15 days all the way to 61 days and really set your price according to the duration that you uniquely want. And so now it's really kind of leaning into that behavior and the insights of our customers to really guide us and say, these are the days that they get paid. These are the days when their businesses are making more money, or this is when they're expecting a certain bill to pop up. And so we can now help them actually match all of those different kind of payment periods to the loans that they're actually taking out from Tala. So again, it's really putting more choice and control in the consumer's hands.
What about the pandemic? Of course, even the loan growth story here for even traditional banks has been quite tepid. Consumers are afraid to borrow because their companies, or even the small, especially the small micro SMEs, are not functioning right now, and they cannot afford to pay. What happens when they're unable to pay? What exactly are their options here?
So during the pandemic, we learned a lot from our customers. We realized that we needed to go beyond what we had offered previously and really provide them again with those flexible payment options, the ability to actually, have extensions, to be able to reach out to us when they were having emergencies. And so we rebuilt our entire payments infrastructure during the pandemic so that we could again really like match and understand the shocks that they have. What we've seen actually post pandemic is that, we've seen the resiliency of our customers come back to their jobs. We're seeing again that entrepreneurial spirit pick up again. And we're back to pre pandemic levels in terms of, again, origination going out the door and customer growth as well.
Ma'am, you mentioned that they can decide on the loan terms, duration, amount, interest rates. You said that you're starting at 9% with no compounding fees. How does this compare to other interest rates in the market that are available, especially for the MSMEs?
So this is really the first ever product like this. Most lenders in the market really, like you said, have accruing interest rates or compounding interest rates where they're really penalizing the consumer when they're not able to repay. At Tala, we don't do that. We have a one-time fee. It's a flat fee based approach. And so it really allows the consumer to get the entire value of the loan before they're even paying us back. And so we're not extracting any value when they get the money. We're actually letting them use the entire amount of the loan and then pay us back at the end of the term. And then there's no additional penalties that are added onto that. And so now with custom due date, we're allowing the consumer to take that even one step further. And so again, letting you pick your amount, the pricing and the duration to match your payment cycles. And then again, not penalizing after a payment period.
Ma'am, what about the competitive environment? So right now, fintech is super hot. You do have other, not just lending platforms, but even e-wallets, and you've got all the traditional banks also looking at microfinance and going digital. How are you going to differentiate yourself?
So for us, the Philippines is one of our major growth markets. It's a market that we really believe in. And so we recently just raised a large amount of funding. We raised $145 million dollars in our Series E. And that was really to focus in on going beyond credit and to really continue doubling down on the Filipino consumer and really providing them with the ability to not just receive credit from Tala, but to really be able to use that money with us, to be able to protect their money with us, and to be able to continue to grow their capital with us.
All right, so check out their website and see what options consumers have at this point. Thank you so much for weighing in on the financial inclusion story. That was, of course, Shivani Siroya, founder and CEO of lending platform Tala.
Thank you so much.
Checking in on the other headlines we're keeping our eyes on, the government has raised an initial 113.5 billion pesos in retail treasury bonds as it seeks more funds for post-pandemic recovery. At the rate-setting auction, tenders reached about 165 billion pesos. That's more than 5 times the initial offer of 30 billion pesos. The RTBs fetched a coupon rate of 4.6%. This is slightly lower than the 4.75% coupon rate for the recently reissued treasury bonds that are set to fall due on 2027. Now, the 5.5 year bonds are being sold in denominations of at least 5,000 pesos. The offer period is set to run until November 26, while the maturity date is set on June 2, 2027. National Treasurer Rosalia De Leon said the RTB attracted strong demand due to larger volume and expectation of rates climbing up. And BPI says the Philippines may return to its pre-pandemic growth trajectory in 7 to 8 years. BPI lead economist June Neri said that the government's estimate of 10 years is too long because the labor sector is agile enough to pivot to new winners. Neri explained that NEDA issued a conservative projection because he wants to urge other government agencies to move more quickly. To drive a more rapid economic recovery, the bank says it is important to develop technology skills in the workforce, nurture the digital economy, and the continued increase in capital goods imports for the tech sector. BPI Chief Market Strategist Marco Miguel Javier also hopes that the businesses that had to close their factories in Vietnam due to the pandemic consider the Philippines as an investment destination. And that's a first look into the business day. Today is Wednesday, November 17, 2021. Catch Business World Live for the market close. That's at 3:15 p.m. today. I'm Danie Laurel. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.